Now is 5:12 on this Thursday, and as of last week, 3.3 million people filed for unemployment due to the pandemic. Here in Montana, claims surged. Near the end of March, unemployment claims reached nearly 14,000. We're talking a 1,700% increase over the previous week. Many have lost jobs due to the shutdown of non-essential business. In some cases, these businesses are forced to pivot, changing the way they once provided service. Local temp agency Express Staffing says they are still open and ready to help people.
I don't think that there's a slowdown. I think that for the right candidates with the right credentials and skills, there is excellent opportunities right now for placement. Some really good companies here in Great Falls.
And they are taking applications and asking people to call to do phone interviews for positions. If you're in need of work or in need of workers, you can check our websites for more details. In our Money Watch this morning, the Treasury Department is working on a way for some of you to get your stimulus money sooner. Secretary Steven Mnuchin says direct deposits will likely go into accounts on April 17th. Paper checks will take a little longer, so if the IRS doesn't already have your direct deposit information, the Treasury Department is setting up a secure web portal for you to submit your bank info. The portal should be ready in the next 2 weeks. The IRS will use your 2018 or 2019 tax return to determine how you'll get your money and how much you'll receive. And Wednesday, April 1st, marks Census Day in the U.S. Where you're living right now is where you should be counted for the 2020 census. So far, around 30% of Montanans have self-reported. Every person counted equates to around $20,000 of federal funds for the state. And depending on the numbers across the country, Montana may regain its second U.S. House seat. The census will only send out codes to physical addresses. Rural routes and P.O. Box users will not be sent a code. Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney says the COVID-19 pandemic has created a difficult situation for getting the word out to everyone.
We've been hoping to get even things hung on people's doors, telling them how to go about filing their census report. Well, those efforts have been brought to a standstill because of the virus issue. So we're very concerned about that. We're very worried that some people may not understand what they need to be doing.
And Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney strongly encourages people to take the 10-minute census survey as soon as possible. People can call the census hotline or visit the my2020census.gov, even if they don't have that census code, to make sure that they are counted. Here at home, Cascade County is joining the list of counties opting for an all-mail ballot election for the June 2nd primary. County commissioners approved the change Wednesday. Cascade County Clerk and Recorder Rena Fontana Moore says the ballots will be mailed out to all active voters within the county on May 8th. The county will send out a mailer to inactive voters informing them of the change. Last week, Governor Bullock gave counties the option to switch to mail ballot elections to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Leaders have extended the regular voter registration deadline to May 26th. In addition, they will allow mail ballots to be returned without postage. Montana Expo Park will be set up on Election Day without polling stations. And as the impact of the coronavirus outbreak is affecting almost all aspects of the economy, it's also upending the political world in one of the biggest elections that Montana has seen in many years. MTN's chief political reporter Mike Dennison tells us how the virus has changed the 2020 campaign landscape in Montana with just 2 months to go before the primary election.
A month ago, candidates for statewide office prepared for the home stretch to the June 2nd election in several hotly contested primaries. Now, everything has changed.
I only know one way to campaign, and that is to get in front of people and try to, talk to people and have debates. All of the debates have been canceled. It's difficult on every front because what used to exist, even in terms of being able to communicate, has all changed.
Coronavirus restrictions mean no local party dinners or forums, no one-on-one meetings with voters, no in-person fundraisers, and just plain difficult to raise any money. So what are candidates doing? They say they're still contacting voters and supporters, but often to offer help in this time of trouble.
I'm spending a lot of time talking with Montanans, making sure they're okay and seeing what questions they have, trying to serve as a resource to them.
The amount of fear and lack of resources I'm seeing for people in my district is it just has to be answered with something.
Williams and Winter say they hope their actions show voters how they'd act if elected. Candidates also are pinning hopes on telephone and email contacts by campaign workers.
The best kind of campaigning in Montana is the word of mouth of good people who spread the word about people they believe in, candidates they believe in. And so I'm fortunate to have volunteers and supporters that are on fire.
Candidates who are office holders say the coronavirus crisis has consumed their work time, like Insurance Commissioner Matt Rosendale, who's one of 6 Republicans running for Montana's open U.S. House seat. He hopes his work to ensure people have access to health care is advertisement enough to support him.
I am thoroughly convinced that as long as I do a good job at the office that the people of Montana elected me for, that they will continue to give me the support that they have previously and push me forward as the nominee for United States Congress.
But of course, it doesn't hurt to have money and name ID. And Montana State University political scientist David Parker says candidates with cash can take to the airwaves and the digital ad landscape like they've always done. But he also says there's an X factor that lesser-known candidates could take advantage of.
We're all trapped in our homes. We're all in front of our devices all the time. If anything, the audience is far more captive now than you might even have in another campaign.
That aspect, and a likely all-mail ballot, is something that Republican House candidate Joe Dooling hopes can work to his advantage.
Folks have more time to research candidates, and they have a little bit more time on their hands. And so we're of the belief that voters are going to research the candidates a little bit more than just going in the booth and voting for a name they recognize.
Could that be? Or are the better funded and better known candidates even more advantaged in these troubled times? Voters start rendering their verdict in just 5 short weeks when those mail-in ballots go out. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Well, up next in your weather forecast, we're tracking slightly warmer temperatures today, but still very, very cold. Breaking down some of the snow accumulation that we've seen. Picking up about 12 inches. Lewistown, check it out, about 10 and a half there. Rocky Boy right at 10. Great Falls reading in at the National Weather Service at about 5 and a half there. A little bit over 4 in Havre as well. Currently, no moisture over the region. Kind of a cloudy start to the day, though. Hour by hour forecast. Very, very cold in the area. We'll detail your forecast next.
Now, here's your Storm Tracker weather forecast with Jason Laird.
Good morning, friends, and happy Thursday. Check it out. Feels like temperature outside right now, 7 below in Great Falls. Not something you would normally experience in April. 9 below is what it feels like in Lewistown right now. Double digits below 0 there into northeastern Montana. Current actual air temperature about 10 degrees warmer than that in Great Falls. 9 right now, 13 in the capital. Single digits all along the High Line. Just a little trace of moisture there throughout the southeastern plains here. Overall today, we're going to stay kind of cloudy at times, but mostly clear skies for the most part and not much in the way of moisture. This afternoon and evening, can't rule out a couple little stray flurries, maybe making their way over the mountains, but really for the most part, pretty minimal impacts there. If we do see any of these little breakaway flurries, very little, if any, accumulation is to be expected. It's just we've got a little bit of lingering moisture over the state, and temperatures so cold like this, it just quickly turns over to snow. 26 degrees for your daytime high today in Great Falls, 34 in the capital, a couple of 30s and 40s there west of the divide, much more mild, and looking at the high 20s there along the High Line and northeastern Montana, 30 degrees in Lewistown. As for tonight, cooling off to the teens in most locations, 13 in Great Falls, 19 in Helena. So yes, cold, but a little bit better compared to where we're sitting right now and where we were last night. Still a couple of single digits though along the High Line, northeastern Montana at about 12 degrees this evening. Tomorrow continuing to warm things up, 42 in Great Falls, 43 in the capital, a couple of mid 40s there throughout the eastern plains, finally getting closer to seasonal averages, but really we should be in the low 50s for a good chunk of the state. Breaking down those weather systems now as we head into the weekend. So the area of low pressure that really allowed for that cold Arctic air to funnel in across the state, that's going to continue to make its way out. We do have another little area of low pressure moving in off of the South Pacific. That could potentially kick a couple of showers our way come Sunday, most of which is going to get hung up in the mountains, but a couple of stray showers not out of the question as that system kind of travels south. Not going to do much in the way way of temperatures. We'll stay kind of cloudy, but overall it's going to continue warming as we head through the weekend and the first part of this next week. Then some high pressure is going to start moving in off of the coast. That's going to take temperatures to the next level, finally warming us back up to where we should be by the first part to the middle of this next week. So 26 degrees today, still cold. Warmer though tomorrow at 42. We're going to get up into the low 40s this weekend. Finally then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is when we'll get more on track with seasonal averages. So 34 degrees today, still kind of cold. We'll near the 50s this weekend in the capital and finally back to the 50s next week, Keely.
Thanks, Jason. The time now is 5:25 on this Thursday, and concerns about the coronavirus started delaying events even back in February. Western Art Week, of course, ended up being postponed, but this week the Out West Art Show and Sale posted this to their Facebook page, announcing a new Western Art Week. Right now, it looks like the C.M. Russell Museum, the Great Western Living and Design Show, and the Out West Art Show will join forces in one venue September 10th through the 12th. That's all they're announcing right now. But the Post says to watch for a video announcement today with more information. We'll update you as we learn more about the rescheduled Western Art Week. The time is 5:26, and still to come, an American classic is being celebrated by kids and parents alike today. The simple sandwich that's captured the hearts and taste buds of many. Next.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's news leader.
And welcome back to Montana This Morning. Well, it's peanut butter jelly time. April 2nd is PB&J's time to shine on National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day, the childhood favorite that, let's be honest, is still just as satisfying when you're an adult. Comfort food at its easiest and perhaps its stickiest. They're even popular in space. Did you know the average American will eat more than 2,000 PB&J sandwiches by the time they graduate from high school? It's a common lunchbox food these days, but at one point, peanut butter was considered a delicacy.
Interesting. Now, the first reference to peanut butter and jelly on bread popped up in 1901, and by the late 1920s, when a piece of peanut butter went down, kids all over were chowing down on the PB&J. Not a fan of the sandwich? Well, there are ways to celebrate the day with cupcakes over waffles, cookies, and don't get grossed out here, but you could even make a peanut butter and jelly sushi roll.
Ooh,
that's disgusting.
I don't know if I've ever thought of that.
That is gross.
I would try that. That would be really good, actually.
A sushi roll with peanut butter and jelly?
You seen like those candy sushi rolls that they make? Like it's literally just like, it's not rice. It's like just candy, like rolled up.
Oh, so it's just candy. There's absolutely no fish component to it?
No, yeah.
Oh,
so I'm wondering if this would be like bread just rolled up with your peanut butter and jelly. You slice it like a roll. Yeah.
Okay, because if you start throwing like fish in there and like doing like the sushi, that's disgusting.
Nice, like a nice smoked salmon.
Now,
there
okay,
with your
out of
PB&J.
everybody I know, Keely, you are the most particular PB&J person I have ever met in my life.
It's true. It's all about the ratios. I don't know if anybody else is this crazy about it, but when I make a PB&J, the ratios have to be proportional.
Yeah.
Or else it's not a PB&J.
Because you went through a stint there. You had PB&J before
ruined.
the show for like months.
Yeah, I had a theory that it was going to make me a better anchor, and it did not.
Well, but I mean, like, even when she made her own sandwiches, like, if she got her own ratios off by the smallest amount,
My whole day was off,
Yeah.
It was a mess.
Way too much steak in the PB&J.
Madness.
So more jelly, less jelly, what are your thoughts?
Oh, man, you have
Or
to
is
have a
it
lot of
even?
jelly, but even amount of peanut butter. So it's just, you got to load it up.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so
You
it
almost
like
gotta
just goes
see
all
the
over
middle
the place.
kind of like dip down, like when you kind of hold the sandwich, because it's got so much PB and jelly in it.
So much weight to
Yeah.
it. A girthy PB&J sandwich.
That's how you
right?
do it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kind of cold. Single digits right now. Pretty cloudy out there as well. We'll continue to see a few little isolated flurries today, but very minimal, most of which will be over the mountains. Well, you can call 27 degrees warm. We'll warm up here this afternoon. As for the capital, starting in the teens up to the 30s. Woo, heat wave, so a little warmer if you want to head down to Helena today. 26 for your daytime high in Great Falls here. 42 degrees in the 42. Where am I going with this? 42 tomorrow.
Weren't you just
capital.
making fun of me of getting Helena and Great Falls mixed up?
Yes.
Yeah.
34 and then 43.
Well, stick around. There's more news ahead. Montana This Morning continues after a short break. It's 5:30 on this Thursday morning and happening now. A call for compassion. Helena Health leaders share a message for those looking to step foot inside healthcare facilities. Plus, stepping down, big changes are coming to a University of Montana program, the latest from campus. And making it count, the importance of being part of the U.S. Census. Montana This Morning starts now.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is Montana This Morning from Montana's news leader.
Good morning, and thanks for trusting MTN on this Thursday morning. I'm Keely Van Middendorp. MTN's Jason Laird joining us this morning in the Weather Center. And Jason, happy Thursday Eve.
Yeah.
That's
What'd you just call it?
Friday Eve. Where am I even going with this today?
I don't know. I was like,
almost
wait,
Friday.
what's Thursday Eve?
I was trying
We're
to be
in
all
Thursday.
coy
I don't
with
even
that.
know.
Yeah.
Friday
Thank
Eve.
goodness it's not Thursday Eve, right?
Oh my
That'd be-
goodness, yeah.
Whew.
Make it Wednesday. No, this week's chugging on by, though. Doing well this morning. Very cold start to the day, though. 9 degrees in Great Falls. Lewistown sitting at about 5 right now. Glasgow at about 3 degrees as well. Opportunity Bank ICAM in the capital, 13 degrees at the airport. Clancy at about 10 degrees. Lincoln there at 8 as well. Forecast headlines looking ahead. Very cold today. Begins warming up finally tomorrow. Still way below average and a little bit more mild this weekend. We'll talk about this weekend forecast coming up shortly. Keely.
Thanks, Jason. We are now sitting at 5:34 on this Thursday, and according to a model used by the Trump administration, we could be dealing with the implications of coronavirus for months to come. According to the model, we'll see our peak on April 25th with 9 deaths a day. It projects death totals in Montana to reach 270 by June before leveling out. These projections come from the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington. They assume strong social distancing measures remain in place to protect against the spread of the disease. At this time, Montana will have enough hospital beds, but will be short of ICU beds. It also expects 100 ventilators will be needed statewide. Again, these are projections that are used by the White House Coronavirus Task Force. And taking a look at the latest numbers released by DPHHS last night, 217 people have been tested positive for coronavirus. 19 have been hospitalized. 5 people have died from coronavirus-related complications. 3 of those deaths have happened in Toole County. On Tuesday, the governor said 32 people have recovered so far from the virus. Right now, that recovery rate for Montana hasn't been determined, as officials say there's not enough data to calculate an accurate rate just yet. And moving to our capital city, St. Peter's Health is encouraging the community to please call before going to the hospital or any clinics. The hospital has made a 24/7 hotline for anyone to call and be directed to the right place for care. They wish to separate respiratory symptom patients with those who have no symptoms. Those with symptoms could be directed to the Urgent Care South Clinic connected to the hospital to maintain that separation. The Urgent Care North Clinic will be seeing patients with no COVID-19 symptoms. The St. Peter's hotline is 457-4180. The hospital encourages people to call before going anywhere to make sure you are safe and at the right place of treatment. Coming up, the gift of music, how one man's voice is providing hope during this tough time.
And later in your weather forecast, check it out, that huge cold air mass making its way off into the Midwest. Check out the temperature change there in the Dakotas, 20 degrees cooler, and we're waking up to the single digits in our area and very cold air moving east. We'll talk about that forecast shortly.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's news leader.
And welcome back to Montana This Morning. The time is 5:40 on this Thursday. And some sports news out of Missoula this morning. Shannon Schwayen will not be retained as the Montana Lady Grizz head coach after 4 seasons leading the women's basketball program. Schwayen went 52-69 as the head coach for the Lady Grizz after taking over the legendary coach Robin Selvig after his retirement in 2016. Schwayen's teams also went 34-42 in the Big Sky Conference as her Lady Grizz teams, especially early on, tended to be marred by injuries. The Lady Grizz also went 1-4 at the Big Sky tournament under Schwayen. And here at home, with businesses being forced to close or lay off workers during the COVID-19 pandemic, there's no question it's a dark time for many here in the community. But one Great Falls musician is using his voice to shed a little light. MTN's Tom Wiley shows us how.
Joel Corda has one of the most distinct, unique voices in Great Falls. And he shared it with the community for decades.
And music has been beautiful for me. I've gotten to work in the arts in Great Falls for my whole professional life. And that's something I don't know growing up that I thought I'd be able to do.
But with bars, restaurants, and concert venues closing nationwide due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the ability to play in front of people was taken away.
I definitely have. There were 2-3 gigs that I've already not been able to play, and I haven't been able to see those people, and music's a huge part of my life.
So Corda got creative. He started a nightly Homestead Series concert live on Facebook.
Good evening, everybody.
To help him stay connected with Great Falls and provide a little light during these uncertain times.
Red, red wine. I'm hearing from people that I haven't spoken to in 20 years, and you do wonder sometimes if you're just a voice in the dark and if anybody's even listening. But I get really great feedback. I've been blessed by this community anyway. This community has always lifted me up, and I will do my best to lift them up too.
But more than just filling a performance void, Corda hopes to use his nightly concerts to talk about small businesses and to offer supports to the people and places that have supported his life and career for years.
They all need us. All these small places, all these homegrown mom and pop shops, they need us. And what's great about Great Falls, I've said it a few times, is Great Falls doesn't say no to people. All I can offer is what I have. I have a voice, I can sing, I perform at these places, and I'll do what I can.
And spreading joy through music and the arts has never been more important than it is right now.
We all come together and put our voices together for something bigger than us. Something happens that you can't do on your own. And I feel that all the time in our community in Great Falls.
Be a light in the dark, be a hope in their hearts.
Tom Wiley, MTN News.
And Corda's Homestead Series airs live on Facebook 6 days a week. He does take requests Monday through Friday to help promote businesses. And on Saturdays, he plays 90 minutes of all original material, just like he would at a gig.
Well, up next in your weather forecast, temperatures finally starting to warm up a little bit, but don't get too excited yet. Still very cold. And check out some of the snow accumulations. Hilger reading in at about a foot of snow there. Lewistown picked up about 10.5. Fort Benton there at about 6, just shy of 6 actually up at the National Weather Service in Great Falls. As for current conditions, relatively dry, but a cloudy and cool start to the day with the single digits. We'll break down your weekend forecast next.
Now, here's your Storm Tracker weather forecast with Jason Laird.
Welcome back. Thanks for spending your Thursday morning with us. Hopefully it's off to a great start so far. Well, 7 degrees below zero is what it feels like right now in Great Falls, a whopping 1 degree in the capital. Not overly windy, but there's enough of a breeze out there to make it feel about 10 degrees colder. Check it out. The actual air temperature, 9 degrees in Great Falls, 5 in Lewistown, very close to zero there in northeastern Montana. Overall, the day is going to stay dry. We are going to continue to see mostly cloudy skies, a little bit of clearing as the day progresses. A few isolated flurries over the mountains, not out of the question, a few of which may break into central Montana. Really, we've got a little bit of lingering moisture over the state, and you factor in the Arctic air that we have planted over top of us, and that could potentially kick off a couple of flurries today, but very little in the way of accumulation. We're only going to get to about 26 degrees in Great Falls today, 34 in the capital, much more mild though west of the divide, high 30s and 40s there, about 29 in Jordan today and 28 in northeastern Montana. Tonight still going to be cold, but hopefully staying out of the single digits, at least for most locations. Cut Bank will probably still drop down to about 9. Great Falls we should stay at about 13, 19 in the capital, couple of single digits out east as well. Slowly but surely starting to warm those temperatures up once Friday rolls around. 42 degrees in Great Falls, 43 in the capital. Very similar out east, maybe a little bit warmer there, getting up into the mid 40s near Jordan. Okay, breaking down down our weekend weather forecast. So really this area of low pressure is what's caused all the problems. That put a big dip in the jet stream, allowed for that Arctic Canadian air to slide down over the state. That's going to start to move off and more or less impact the Midwest. We do still have kind of a lingering area of low pressure off of the coast. That's going to offer up the possibility of a few showers on Sunday, most of which should stay over the mountains, but potentially a couple little breakaway showers throughout the plains as well. That's going to keep us a little bit cooler through the weekend compared to what we were previously expecting as well. But the good news is once Monday, Tuesday rolls around, finally we're going to get a high pressure ridge off of the coast, and that's going to bring us back up to at least very close to average, if not right on track with average. 26 degrees today, 40s pretty much through the weekend. Palm Sunday, not much better there at 43. Finally next week, getting back into the low 50s, closer to average. 34 today in the capital, mid to high 40s up through the weekend, and then the 50s next week. Keely?
Thanks, Jason. The time is 5:48 on this Thursday, and the IRS is extending the tax deadline. Experts say there's confusion about what needs to be done and when. Alicia Neves set out to get clear answers.
Amid the coronavirus pandemic, almost nothing feels normal. Simply walking out of your home comes with a new set of rules to follow. And trying to do what would be normal this time of year, filing your taxes, that has hurdles most are still trying to figure out.
Normally, busy season is challenging in itself, and this has added many more layers.
Eileen Shear with the American Institute of CPAs is one of those trying to help.
Do you have an increased number of people just confused on if they're supposed to file right now? Do they have an extension? Is that kind of one of the big questions that's coming up?
Yes, definitely. This has all happened in the last few weeks, and the states are just now, they were waiting for the IRS to come out with their guidance, and at first it was just payment relief, and now it's filing and payment relief. So that was confusing.
Shear explains just shy of the normal tax deadline, there is now some clearer guidance. The federal government has extended its deadline for federal tax filing and payments to July 15th. Many states have now moved their filing deadlines to match. However, in a few states like Mississippi, Virginia, and Idaho, you have to file earlier. Adding to the confusion, some wonder if you file your state return early, can you file your federal at the later deadline?
Generally, you'll have to do and start with the federal first. So you will have to do a federal return in order to get to the state return.
Some good news in that instance. If you owe money on your federal return, you won't have to pay that until July 15th. If you're someone who's getting money back, even better news perhaps. Returns are being processed right now without delays.
They want to get the money out to everybody, especially the refunds. They want to get it back into the economy. So they're doing the best they can.
So if you have to or want to file your taxes right now, it is possible, just may be a little more challenging, and that truly seems to be our new normal for now. I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
And officials across the nation have been urging Americans to respond to census questionnaires this week. Among the reasons, Wednesday marked National Census Day. Census documents like this one have been going out to Americans in the mail for weeks now. They're being urged to respond to census questions, which is required by law. Now, some people have received census questions in those letters, while others are urged to respond on the phone or online. For those who don't, census workers are expected to go door to door in the coming months. The effort to count all Americans is a big deal because it determines how many representatives in Congress each state will have. It also affects how much federal money will go to local schools and infrastructure projects. It's now 5:51 on this Thursday morning, and still to come, a pair of grocery baggers in Glasgow are keeping themselves and customers entertained. More from up north. Thanks.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
Wearing masks and around me for supplies. After every hour, gotta sanitize. Corona got people hypnotized.
right, you ready? Hit it.
Well, a pair of Albertsons employees are hard at work bagging groceries and busting rhymes. Bob Stormer took this video of J-Rake and T-Dog in Glasgow last week as grocery shoppers were on the loose looking to stock up on all the necessities like toilet paper, paper towels, and canned goods.
Now, shoppers near the rapping duo also took home a little humor in the midst of COVID-19 concerns.
That is amazing. And Bob tells me that they're regulars up there in the store. They're up there rapping all the time.
Really?
So maybe local celebrities
They've
there
got
in
it
Glasgow.
down, man.
Yeah, right?
That's outstanding.
I love that there's a beat man as well.
Right,
Just
right.
like, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, right on the bagging thing, you
So
know, like
cool.
getting her down. That's
Was
so
that
cool.
your
That was
attempt?
that was my best attempt at the beat.
I think
We're just
they've
gonna
got
leave
you
it
beat.
at that. 100%. Yeah, well.
Get it?
Dad
Little-
joke of the morning there.
Yeah.
Way to go, Keely. Anyways, on the weather scene here, already tracking some spring flooding despite the colder temperatures up in northeastern Montana and the Highline. Flood advisory there in effect just north of Havre. Small creeks and streams experiencing some high water levels due to the recent snowmelt, and a flood warning for the Milk River just barely above flood stage. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. As for your morning planner here, a very cold start. It's going to feel a lot colder than what it actually is due to a light breeze out there. A little bit of a break in the clouds as the day progresses. 26 for your daytime high in Great Falls, 42 on your TGI Friday. Morning planner in the capital, teens slightly warmer this afternoon. Again, sun trying to break out. 34 degrees and then up to the 40s as we finally head toward the weekend.
All right, warming up. We'll stick around. Your Farm and Ranch Report with the Montana Ag Network is next. It's 6 o'clock on this Thursday morning and happening now. We're seeing over 200 cases of COVID-19 in the Treasure State this morning. A look at the latest numbers from health leaders. Plus, protecting the community and themselves, how Helena Fire Department has adjusted to these uncertain times. And testing patients. There's now a website for those who want to share their experience being denied testing. We'll have more. Montana This Morning starts now.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is Montana This Morning from Montana's news leader.
Good morning and happy Thursday. I'm Keely Van Mittendorp. Jason Laird joining us this morning from the Weather Center. And Jason, hopefully a better day in store than yesterday.
Well, anything's going to feel better than yesterday,
Right,
that's
yeah.
for sure. But yeah, a little tiny bit warmer today. We'll probably see, you know, due to the sun angle increasing, we should see a little bit more snow melt, even though it is staying colder out there. Waking up to the single digits all across the board, 9 whopping degrees in Great Falls. It feels a lot colder than that, though, due to a light breeze out there. As for the Capitol and the Opportunity Bank, ICANN, 13 at the airport there. Lincoln at 8 degrees in Boulder Hill, sitting at 5 degrees right now. McDonald passed 0 right now as well. Very cold day on tap, but we are going to start warming up slowly but surely as we head toward the weekend. We'll break down that weekend forecast shortly. Keely.
Thanks, Jason. We will check back in with you in Storm Tracker weather. Taking a look at the latest numbers released by DPHHS last night, 217 people have tested positive for coronavirus. 19 have been hospitalized. 5 people have died from coronavirus-related complications. 3 of those deaths have happened in Toole County. On Tuesday, the governor said 32 people have recovered so far from the virus. Right now, the recovery rate for Montana has not yet been determined, as health officials say there's not enough data right now to calculate an accurate rate just yet. In more news from Wednesday, President Donald Trump approved Montana's disaster declaration. FEMA says this will make federal emergency aid available to our state. This aid will supplement state, tribal, and local recovery efforts in areas affected by coronavirus. Public assistance federal funding is available to the state, tribal, and local governments, as well as certain nonprofit organizations on a cost-sharing basis for emergency protective measures. And 73 Montana Army and Air National Guard men and women have been activated by Governor Steve Bullock. The soldiers and airmen will be at 11 cities and 17 locations across the state, including airports, starting this Friday, April 3rd. And in response to COVID-19, West Valley Volunteer Fire Department has modified their medical response policy to limit face-to-face exposure. Following national trends on medical calls, the department will now only have one responder make initial contact from the front door to assess the need for more help if needed. West Valley said it is a priority to keep their personnel healthy. And Helena Fire Department leaders say they're increasing their use of personal protective equipment as they prepare for more cases of COVID-19. Helena Fire Chief Ken Wood says the department has enough N95 masks for the medical calls they make currently, though that could change if there is a large outbreak. They have a limited supply of medical gowns, which they use to make sure their uniforms don't need to be disinfected regularly. The department didn't initially have any kind of sanitizer, but after a post on Facebook, people from around the state contacted them to help out. They eventually got a supply from the Helena company Diamond Products. Wood says the sanitizer is a big help. And staying in our capital city, St. Peter's Health is encouraging the community to please call before going to the hospital or any clinics. The hospital has made a 24/7 hotline for anyone to call and be directed to the right place for care. They wish to separate respiratory symptom patients with those who have no symptoms. Those with symptoms could be directed to the Urgent Care South Clinic connected to the hospital that maintains that separation. The Urgent Care North Clinic will be seeing patients with no COVID-19 symptoms. The St. Peter's hotline is 457-4180. The hospital does encourage people to call before going anywhere to make sure that you are safe and at the right place for treatment. And in response to people who say that they're being denied coronavirus testing, a computer programmer and former member of the Montana legislature created a website where they can share their stories. UntestedMontana.com was launched on Friday, and UntestedWyoming.com was launched yesterday. Both sites were created as a place for residents of both states where they can share information on their symptoms after being turned away for testing. Once collected, the information will be given to the governor's offices and state COVID-19 task forces to use however they see fit.
We can make sure folks' stories are heard. I'm sure many are seeing on Facebook right now from friends and family who cannot get tested. And we're just trying to give those folks agency and make sure the government and the authorities have that data.
Now, he also mentioned all fields on the website are voluntary, and as soon as the information is handed over to the state, it will be completely wiped from his database. The time now is 6:06 on this Thursday, and coming up, paying it forward, how a cup of coffee keeps those needing a helping hand going. We'll have more from one shop along the Missouri River next.
And later in your weather forecast, slowly but surely, that cold air mass that's been planted over the state from Canada is going to continue to shift off into the Midwest, and some slightly warmer temperatures returning this weekend. Take a closer look at that weekend forecast very shortly.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
And welcome back to Montana This Morning. The time is 6:10 on this Thursday. And learning how to play an instrument isn't the easiest task for most, but one Helena instructor is still doing what he can to help his students from home. MTN's Sam Hoyle shows us how Scott Williams has found a workaround.
With Piccolo's Music in Helena open for only pickup orders and work on instruments, Scott Williams, a music teacher at Piccolo's, needed to think of something so he could still teach his students from afar.
So online, now they either already know how to tune it, I tell them to tune it before we even start so we can use the whole half hour.
Williams is doing all of his teaching via video chats like Skype, Zoom, and FaceTime.
So let's do those three again.
Though the online version of teaching does come with some complications.
There's some people who just can't. I've had a couple of, people that have really tried to get the Skype thing going, and sometimes it's hard for them to hook up because they're, one of them was trying to do it while they were on the same phone on the same call with me.
But regardless, his students still appreciate him taking the time to work with them, as everyone looks for an outlet during these times.
When I learn the right chords and I play it right, I guess it makes me feel happy because I get one step closer to finishing a song that I like.
In Helena, Sam Hoyle, MTN News.
And even through social distancing, big brothers and big sisters of Helena and Great Falls are making sure littles still get some time with their bigs. Personal interaction plays a big role in the mentorship program with Big Brothers Big Sisters. But for everyone's safety, in-person interaction has been halted for the time being to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Modern technology has helped bigs and littles stay connected even though they can't see each other.
We're just asking our matches to get in touch, through the phone, FaceTime, text, email, playing social games on their phones or iPads, that type of thing. And so really we're just trying to keep it simple.
COVID-19 has also forced the organization to make alternative plans for their annual Wine Crush fundraiser. If social distancing guidelines are extended through May, the organization will instead hold a digital auction for the event. And moving now to Choteau County, a Fort Benton coffee business is brewing up compassion in the midst of chaos. Part owner of Wake Up Coffee House, Cafe and Bakery, Jamie Carrier, says a friend's recent donation sparked the creation of a coffee fund for healthcare workers on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. The shop also has a Pay It Forward fund for those who could use a little helping hand. Carrier says Wake Up Coffee House recently had to lay off the majority of its employees, but she's overjoyed to see friends and staff finding ways to give back.
It's been awesome to see how people are already stepping up like that, and wanting to take care of those who are still working and who don't have an option of just staying home.
Yeah. Carrier says employees are also donating all their tips to fellow workers without a job right now. Currently, Wake Up Coffee House and Cafe is open for takeout and delivery only. We have their information along with a list of restaurants open for business at KRTV and KXLH.com/open. Moving now to the Highline, a woman from Cut Bank is asking for help this morning. She owns Lita's Res Dog Rescue. She's on the Blackfeet Reservation and says right now she doesn't have the supplies to feed all the animals she's taking care of. She is in need of dog and cat food.
Everybody's out of work. It's a reservation. People are having to choose between feeding their families or feeding their dogs.
She says they are having issues with people dropping off animals because they think that they could catch COVID-19, which is not true. In addition to cat and dog food donations, they're also looking for volunteers to help put out food. If you're able to help, you can check out our website for more details.
Well, up next in your weather forecast, the unseasonably cold conditions continue today. As for some of the snow, Hilger picking up right at a foot. Lewistown about 10.5 inches for the most part. Rocky Boy at 10, all the way to Havre picking up about 4.5 in that region. Currently, we're sitting at cloudy skies throughout central Montana. Very cold air will stay mostly dry today. We'll break down today's forecast and give you a glimpse into the weekend after the break.
And welcome back to Montana This Morning. Well, many people in southwest and north central Montana reported feeling a large earthquake Tuesday that occurred more than 200 miles away in Idaho. The 6.5 magnitude quake in south central Idaho took place just before 6 o'clock in the evening, and it was felt in Deer Lodge, Butte, as well as Cascade County and other cities and counties throughout Montana.
Yeah, and that earthquake studies office at Montana Tech in Butte reported that this is the second largest quake in Idaho history, and it was felt throughout the west, of course, here in the United States. And the quake occurred in a rural area, and no major damage or injuries, thankfully, were reported.
Wow, thankfully, I know that's what we were kind of waiting on yesterday, was a report of damage. So good news.
Yeah, fantastic news. It is, not that you ever really want an earthquake, but if it's going to happen, at least it's in a rural area where no real impacts are felt.
I wonder, too, aftershock-wise, how bad of it.
I've kind of kept an eye on it, and there has been some real minor little quakes in that region, because we do have a tracker on our computer, and there's definitely been a few.
Nothing though that you gotta hold on.
No, I keep waiting. I really want to feel the earthquake so badly.
It's because you're busy chasing storms.
Yeah,
Mother Nature decided to give somebody else the chance.
That must be the catch, But there's been a couple little aftershocks going around in that area, so wouldn't be surprised if, especially if you live in western Montana, feel a little rumble or two. Very cold temperatures to start things out. This is what it feels like. So in other words, you take the air temperature, factor in the wind chill. Feels feels like 7 below in Great Falls. Same story for Lewistown, 9 below in Glasgow right now. Actual air temperature 9 degrees in Great Falls, 13 in the capital. So yeah, about a 10-degree difference is what it feels like. If you are heading out the door bright and early this morning, grab an extra pair of long johns, right? Overall today, we're going to see slightly clearing skies. Going to stay probably mostly cloudy though for a good chunk of the region. We will have a slight possibility of some isolated flurries over the mountains, a few of which may make their way into central Montana. Really what we've got going on is there's just so much, well, not so much, but there's a decent amount of atmospheric moisture to work with, and the air is just so darn cold that it quickly can turn over to snow if we do get any of that moisture making its way over the mountain. So most of which, again, getting hung up over the high terrain. 26 today for your daytime high, still a very cold one, 34 degrees in the capital. The good news is, though, since we're heading towards summer, the sun angle is starting to crank up a little bit, so we're going to continue to see melting conditions. Although it's still going to feel cold, we'll see a lot of the roads and sidewalks continue melting today, much like what we saw yesterday. Overnight lows very cold, though, 13 degrees again. Not quite as cold as where we were last night, 19 in the capital. Looking at the teens along the High Line, 9 degrees tonight in Cutbank. Tomorrow warming up slowly but surely as we head toward the weekend, 42 degrees in Great Falls, 43 in the capital. A couple of mid-40s there throughout the eastern plains as well. So our last weather maker has been this upper level area of low pressure. That's what caused that cold air from Canada to move down across the region. That's going to continue to track off to the east. Another little area of low pressure will move in off of the coast, but really not going to do much for us. Possibly going to kick off a couple of showers maybe Saturday night. Primarily on Sunday is when we could see those showers. That's going to move just to the south of us, possibly kicking off a few showers there. But once Tuesday and Wednesday rolls around, some high pressure is going to continue to move in off of the coast, and that's going to bump those temperatures to closer to seasonal averages over the next couple of days. So next 7 days look like this. 26, still very cold today. Likely going to see temperatures trending in the low 40s, possible shower on Sunday. Finally, next week is when we'll get back to closer to seasonal average temperatures. 34 degrees today in the capital, high 40s to wrap up the weekend. Keely?
Thanks, Jason. It's now 6:21 on this Thursday, and still to come on Montana this morning. COVID-19 didn't keep a Butte resident from celebrating a major milestone yesterday. We'll share her story from the mining city next.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
And welcome back to Montana This Morning. The time is 6:26 on this Thursday morning. And right now, hope is coming in many shapes and sizes, with people doing what they can to spread hope in their communities while not spreading the coronavirus.
MTN's Cody Boyer shows us another example how flowers are making a difference.
To Rochelle Kaufman in Bozeman, hope is a key word, and she's spreading it in the form of wreaths. But not making them herself, she's giving that opportunity to you.
This is the perfect time to create.
At the flower bar, kindness blooms literally. That's what Rochelle Kaufman hopes for in each bouquet.
Since we can't meet in person, I figured let's bring the creativity and the workshop to someone at home.
Except spending time with flowers might seem like a tough thing to do when we are spending time indoors. Not to Kaufman.
It's springtime. We want to see like greenery and flowers. The wreath workshop DIY kit is available for a family to get together and learn different types of flowers.
Wreaths for families to work on at home or even while talking through a screen, something that Kaufman started with her neighbors in mind.
All I want to do is help them by taking their dog out for a walk because they are extremely high risk. I would just want to decorate their front porch with a wreath.
Kaufman doesn't stop there.
I've always wanted to spread more kindness, so I created this campaign called Kindness Blooms.
Nominate someone you find inspirational or kind, whether it's by picking up someone's groceries or finding creative ways to flatten the curve. They could get free flowers at their doorstep.
That's hope. Like, winter will pass, spring will come.
Kaufman challenges you to send as many nominations as you can. For as long as kindness blooms, hope will too.
We will get through this. And there is the little bulb at the end of the tunnel.
In Bozeman, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
The little bulb at the end of the tunnel. I like that. That's sweet. Well, social distancing did not stop a group of people in the mining city yesterday from celebrating the birthday of a special woman who turned 95 years old Wednesday.
Now, the friends and loved ones of Dorothy Honeychurch held a birthday parade by honking their horns as they drove by her home off of Corbin Street yesterday evening.
Now, the parade was a complete surprise to Honeychurch, who is very active in her community and beloved by those who know her. Honeychurch said it was an amazing birthday for her and she felt very loved.
That's good.
My
Look
goodness,
at that line of cars.
Man. I wonder if they got like 95 cars for 95
Oh my goodness,
years.
that would be cool,
Wouldn't
but
that
very
be
tricky.
Amazing? Yeah.
That would be cool,
my
yeah.
gosh.
Could you imagine like having
We'll
no
have to do that
idea?
for your next birthday.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Could you imagine that though, like not having a clue what's going on? You hear all these like cars honking outside,
first, like
you know,
get off my lawn.
What's going on out there?
Right.
And yeah, here's a whole parade for your birthday.
That's
That's
so
super
sweet.
cool.
Yeah, I love her little sign that she made
Yeah.
too, and just a way to celebrate.
Yeah, and you were all about the wreaths as well.
Yes, I was. During that whole story, I was almost like, I don't want to say drooling, but I was drooling for crafts. Like I was so excited.
Right,
So now
right.
it's giving me something to do.
There you
spread
go.
a little bit of cheer. We were just talking about Christmas yesterday too. So
Yeah,
I think
there you. Well, it
I've
kind
got
of
my
feels
Christmas
like
wreath.
Christmas outside right now.
Yeah,
You know?
I have to step up my wreath game though.
There you go. Yeah, no, those are super cool. But check it out. So the temperature change, you can really see where that colder air mass is sandwiched here over Montana, heading off into the Dakotas as we speak. Actual air temperature sitting at Missoula 22, Lewistown at about 5 degrees. So very, very cold. And we're seeing those colder temperatures even move into the Dakotas as well. As for today's highs, not that great. 26, but better than yesterday. That's the positive there.
Positive,
right.
yeah.
Average temperatures would normally be about 51. We should hit that hopefully next week again. 34 today in the capital. Warming up nicely, though, this weekend back into the 40s, which will feel like a really nice change.
Yeah, a welcome change.
Shorts
for sure.
weather.
Well, the time is now 6:31. You're taking a beautiful look at Great Falls. There's more news ahead. Montana This Morning continues after the break. It's 6:30 on this Thursday morning and happening now. The governor makes changes at the state prison in the wake of COVID-19 concerns. Plus, mental health help, how the state is stepping up in a time of crisis. And a call for compassion. Helena Health leaders share a message for those looking to step foot inside healthcare facilities. Montana This Morning starts now.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is Montana This Morning from Montana's news leader.
Good morning and happy almost Friday, or as Ashley, our camera person, pointed out, happy Thursday, Friday Eve. Happy Friday Eve. I've done that now twice during the show. Thank goodness it's not Thursday Eve, right, Jason? I can't believe.
Yeah, I don't know if I can
how much
handle
snow
another
we woke
Wednesday.
up to. I couldn't take another morning of that.
Yeah, especially with
really.
these temperatures.
Yeah.
What is this nonsense?
What is this nonsense?
I don't
That's a
know.
good question for you.
It's
what in
one,
the Sam
it's
heck
one
is going
awful April Fool's joke from Mother Nature. That's what it is. Well, waking up to a very frigid morning. It feels a lot colder out there as well due to a slight breeze. 9 degrees in Great Falls, 5 in Lewistown. Unfortunately, Havre not reading in here this morning, but we know it's cold there too. Opportunity Bank ICAM sitting at 13 at the airport. Lincoln at about 8 degrees. Boulder Hill at 5. Forecast headlines looking ahead. Very cold again today. Slightly warmer though. We'll continue to warm up tomorrow and a little bit more mild this weekend. We'll take a closer look at your weekend forecast shortly. Keely.
Thanks, Jason. We'll check back in with you soon. Our top story this morning, Governor Steve Bullock is suspending new transfers into Department of Corrections custody to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The DOC director can still authorize individual transfers, but any new transfers approved must be quarantined for 14 days. The order covers all DOC facilities and contract facilities. The directive also includes screening anyone arriving at a facility and restricting all in-person visits. Inmates get one free video call and one free phone call each week. The Board of Pardons and Parole will also consider early release for older inmates, inmates who have medical conditions that make them at high risk, pregnant inmates, and those nearing their release date. Meanwhile, the Montana ACLU said Bullock's directive lacks a sense of urgency and called for the expedited release of vulnerable populations and inmates with disabilities. Wednesday morning, the ACLU and Disability Rights Montana filed an emergency petition with with the Montana Supreme Court. The petition asks the court to reduce the number of people currently in custody by reducing both those detained before trial and those already sentenced, and by taking fewer people into custody in the first place. And across the nation, inmates in federal prison will be on lockdown for the next 2 weeks to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The Federal Bureau of Prisons made the decision after 3 inmates in Louisiana died and 20 more were hospitalized. Health officials there have stopped testing inmates and instead are saying anyone showing symptoms should be presumed to have the virus. The lockdown means that all 146,000 federal prisoners will have to remain in their cells for the quarantine. And according to a model used by the Trump administration, we could be dealing with the implications of COVID-19 for months to come. According to the model, we'll see our peak on April 25 with 9 deaths a day. It projects death totals in Montana to reach 270 by June before leveling out. These projections come from the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington. They assume strong social distancing measures remain in place to protect against the spread of the disease. Now, at this time, Montana will have enough hospital beds, but being short of the ICU beds, it also expects 100 ventilators will be needed statewide. Again, these are just projections that are used by the White House Coronavirus Task Force. Taking a look at the latest numbers released by DPHHS last night here in the state, 217 people have tested positive for COVID-19. 19 have been hospitalized. 5 people have died from coronavirus-related complications. 3 of those deaths have happened in Toole County. On Tuesday, the governor said 32 people had recovered so far from the virus. Right now, that recovery rate for Montana has not been determined, as health officials say there's not enough data right now to calculate an accurate rate. And in more news from Wednesday, President Donald Trump approved Montana's disaster declaration. Fema says this will make federal emergency aid available to our state. This aid will supplement state, tribal, and local recovery efforts in areas affected by the coronavirus. Public assistance federal funding is available to the state, tribal, and local governments, as well as certain nonprofit organizations on a cost-sharing basis for emergency protective measures. And in other news around the state, 73 Montana Army and Air National Guard men and women have been activated by Governor Steve Bullock. The soldiers and airmen will be in 11 cities and 17 locations across the state, including airports. This starts this Friday, April 3rd. And continuing our health watch, Montana health leaders say they're taking steps to make sure people who need mental health support during this time can get the services that they need. The Department of Public Health and Human Services says since March 13th, they've seen around double the usual volume of calls to the Montana Warm Line and the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. The Warm Line is a resource similar to a virtual drop-in center. DPHHS has announced extended evening and weekend hours for the service and additional funding for more staffing. They are also providing more funding for the 24/7 Suicide Prevention Lifeline to handle increased calls. Now, here's a look at a few of the resources available right now. Numbers including the Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-TALK. We, of course, have all the details listed on our websites. Moving now to our capital city, St. Peter's Health is encouraging the community to please call before going to the hospital or any clinics. The hospital has made a 24/7 hotline for anyone to call and be directed to the right place for care. They wish to separate respiratory symptom patients from those who have no symptoms. Those with symptoms could be directed to the Urgent Care South Clinic connected to the hospital to maintain that separation. The Urgent Care North Clinic will be seeing patients with no COVID-19 symptoms. The St. Peter's hotline number is 457-4180. We, of course, have that number on our website. The hospital encourages people to call before going anywhere to make sure you are safe and at the right place for treatment. And moving to our west, the city of Whitefish is giving a special shout out to first responders and healthcare workers. MTN's Marin Sue takes us to City Hall to see the artwork.
The names of family, friends, healthcare workers, hospitals, and first responders taped up to the window here at Whitefish City Hall.
The idea behind Hearts for Healthcare Workers is that we take some time to show them that we care. And so at City Hall, we've had employees on their breaks and time that they have to cut out hearts and put names of healthcare workers that they know, all of our first responders.
Dana Smith, Whitefish City Manager, says this was a way the city could give back.
In such a time of stress, and we're all really working through the emotions of being in such an unnatural state, the way we can communicate and have time together. We thought this would be a really neat way to show everybody that we care.
Smith says all staff social distance themselves while creating and hanging the hearts, staggering who hung which hearts where. Terry Dunn, employee and community health nurse at North Valley Hospital, says how this act of kindness brightened her day.
My name and that I was on the window of City Hall, and so they sent me a picture, and it was really heartwarming to see that healthcare workers and first responders were being recognized and supported in that way.
Dunn says she's been putting in long hours at the hospital identifying and training employees on how to properly treat coronavirus cases. This act of kindness warmed Dunn's heart. Smith says Whitefish will continue Hearts for healthcare workers as long as they need to bring happiness and hope. In Whitefish, Maureen Sue, MTN News.
And Smith does encourage other businesses and homeowners to do something similar, create hearts and hang them from your windows for others to see and enjoy. The time now is 6:41 on this Thursday, and coming up next, a look at how Treasure State beef exports are faring as parts of the world reopen after the COVID-19 pandemic.
And later in your weather forecast, still tracking unseasonably cold weather. That Arctic air mass that moved in from Canada will continue to make its way off into the Midwest here in the Dakotas over the next couple of days, with some slightly warmer air making its way in this weekend. We'll break down that weekend forecast very shortly.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
And welcome back to Montana This Morning. The time is 6:44 on this Thursday. And in today's Montana Ag Network segment, Laird Nordland looks at how U.S. agricultural trade with key Asian markets has been impacted by COVID-19.
Even though the coronavirus pandemic has caused chaos in the agriculture marketplace, demand for beef and pork remains strong here at home and in Asia. The U.S. Meat Export Federation says there was still a long road to recovery, but there are strong signs of improvement for demand of U.S. protein in the Asian marketplace.
While we've only been dealing with the coronavirus for the last few weeks here, they've been dealing with it in Asia since early January. And happy to report that we're actually seeing some very good signs out of Asia, specifically Taiwan, Hong Kong, and China. People are getting back to work. Restaurants are reopening. It's by no means normal, but it is returning in a pretty fast trend line with people out in the restaurants. And it's not the same kind of demand as it was pre-coronavirus, but definitely going in the right direction.
January statistics show pork exports up 36% and beef up 2.5%. USMEF expects to see more of an impact on exports going into the spring, but with African swine fever creating a protein shortage in many parts of the world, demand will still be there.
Let's not forget about African swine fever throughout the world. We have a severe shortage of protein. It's not real evident today because of all the focus on the coronavirus, but the reality is roughly 25% of the world's hogs are not there as compared to a year ago due to ASF, and there will be increased demand for imports globally for pork specifically, but also for poultry and beef. I'm not downplaying the impact of the coronavirus. It's a very serious situation, but as I said, people are still eating, and the U.S. with record production is well positioned to supply it.
Now, many remain optimistic about the trade opportunities for beef in Asia, but frustration remains in the countryside as cattle producers watch recent profits made by beef packers continuing to increase compared to what ranchers here in Montana are paid for their calves. Reporting, Laird Nordland, MTN News.
Thanks, Lane. According to the Montana Stock Growers Association, the cattle market has dropped dramatically. It was supposed to be a year of high demand for cattle with great potential in export markets. However, with the coronavirus, the cattle market mirrors the stock market, going down according to the association. The demand for meat in retail stores is high, but those profits hardly go back to the cattle producers or feeders in Montana. Bull sales are still going, but with strict guidelines to follow to prevent the spreading of the virus. Some bull sales have gone entirely virtual. But with many ways to combat the virus, the future is still uncertain. And an update now on the Keystone Pipeline story we brought you Wednesday morning. TC Energy tells MTN News that construction on the pipeline crossing between the U.S. and Canada did not get underway yesterday morning, but it will soon. Spokesman Sarah Rayburn describes the situation as fluid. While she could not give an exact date on when that work will begin, she confirms it will happen this month. Rayburn said the planned activity will focus on the 1.4-mile stretch of BLM land that the border crosses. She could not say how many workers might be involved or for how long. Just Tuesday, TC Energy announced the Keystone Pipeline project had new life thanks to a $1 billion investment from the government of Alberta that will fund the project for the next year.
Well, up next in your weather forecast, the cold weather continues, at least for about one more day. As for some of the snow that we've seen, Hilger reading in at about a foot of snow. Lewistown at about 10.5, Fort Benton 6, and Havre picking up about 4.5 there as well. Currently very cold conditions as you're waking up this morning, mostly cloudy skies as well. We'll see the skies clear out a little bit today with maybe a few lingering flurries. Warming up slightly today. We'll break down today's forecast and let you know what the weekend has in store next.
Now, here's your Storm Tracker weather forecast with Jason Laird.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks as always for spending your Thursday morning with us. Well, it feels very, very cold outside this morning. Basically, take that air temperature, factor in a little bit of breeze, and you get 7 below right now in Great Falls. Looking at 7 below in Lewistown, very cold in northeastern Montana as well. 1 whopping degree in Helena. So overall air temperature, yeah, maybe about 10 degrees warmer than that. But again, it doesn't feel that way. 9 degrees in Great Falls, 13 in the capital. Looking at a few lingering flurries out east, but overall we're going to see kind of mostly cloudy skies. The sun will try to break through at times today. And we do have a little bit of moisture still lingering over the mountains that potentially could make its way into central Montana. And it really won't take much moisture to kick off some light flurries. Now, I'm not expecting much of anything in the way of accumulation, but a few little scattered flurries not out of the question, especially along the Rocky Mountain front and the foothills there, most of which will stay in the mountains with maybe just a little light flurry making its way into central Montana. 26 for your daytime high today. Man, still feels like overnight lows. 34 degrees in the capital, slightly warmer though west of the divide. High 30s and 40s in that region. Tonight, another cold one, but not as cold compared to where we were last night. 13 in Great Falls, 19 in the capital. Looking at the teens throughout northeastern Montana and single digits still throughout the eastern plains. Slowly but surely warming up for your TGI Friday. 42 in Great Falls, 40 degrees in Lewistown. Looking at a few mid-40s as we head off throughout the eastern plains. So slowly starting to warm things up. And the good news is now that we're in the spring, or heading through spring, heading towards summer, I guess you could say, that sun angle is starting to crank up a little bit. So we'll continue to see nice melting throughout the region, even though it is staying a little bit cold today. So our last weather maker is going to continue to move out of the region, taking that colder air with it. There is a little bit of an area of low pressure off of the South Pacific. That's going to open up the door for a couple of spotty showers possibly on Sunday, most of which should stay over the mountains. But again, spotty isolated showers not out of the question for central Montana. That area of low pressure will continue to make its way in, keeping us a little bit cloudy as we head into the work week. And then that system's going to move on out, and we're going to be looking at a nice high pressure ridge moving in off of the coast. That is finally going to bump temperatures back up to more average conditions as we head toward the week, next week, I should say. 26 degrees today, 40s through the weekend, finally getting back to the 50s though, as Monday and Tuesday rolls around to this next week here in the capital. 34 degrees, mid to high 40s, and then finally back into the 50s next week. Keely.
Thanks, Jason. The time is 6:53 and new this morning. Gas prices fall to the lowest level since 2016, and fish prices plummet as coronavirus pandemic cripples industry and idles boats. Jane King is in New York this morning with those stories and more.
The nation's fishing industry is taking a severe hit with restaurants closed and fishing boats idled. Fish are piling up and prices are plummeting. In many cases, the cost of fuel doesn't pay to go out and look for fish. Well, Whiting Petroleum becomes the first major shale bankruptcy. As oil prices drop, the filing comes as many U.S. oil drillers face pressure to meet hefty debt obligations. President Trump is meeting with oil execs tomorrow to talk about the industry collapse. Well, gas prices have fallen to the lowest level in 4 years. $1.98 is a nationwide average. According to AAA, That price is the first dip below $2 since 2016. Now, a year ago, as a comparison, the average gas price was $2.69. And the Food and Drug Administration has relaxed regulations on the types of alcohol that can be used to make hand sanitizers during the shortage caused by the pandemic. They're expanding the market to potentially millions of gallons made by ethanol producers. Hospitals and nursing homes are desperately searching for hand sanitizer, and ethanol plants that make large batches of alcohol have offered to help. From New York, I'm Jane King with your Ag and Energy Report.
Wall Street fell on Wednesday. The Dow dropped 973. The Nasdaq was down 339. The S&P 500 lost 114.
Coming up, we talk with protesting nurses voicing their concerns about a lack of protective equipment. Plus, a recipe for kindness, how one restaurant is stepping up to feed jobless food service workers. Coming up on CBS This Morning.
And welcome back to Montana This Morning. We are 3 minutes away from the top of the hour. Let's get you out the door with the day's top stories now. Taking a look at the latest numbers released by health leaders last night in the state, 217 people have tested positive for coronavirus. 19 have been hospitalized. 5 people have died from COVID-19 related complications. 3 of those reported in Toole County. 32 people have recovered so far from the virus. President Donald Trump approved Montana's disaster declaration on Wednesday. FEMA says this will make federal emergency aid available to our state. This aid will supplement state, tribal, and local recovery efforts in areas affected by COVID-19. And 73 Montana Army and Air National Guards men and women have been activated by Governor Steve Bullock. The soldiers and airmen will be in 11 cities and 17 locations across the state, including airports, starting this Friday, April 3rd. And as of last week, 3.3 million people filed for unemployment due to the pandemic. Here in Montana, claims surged. Near the end of March, unemployment claims reached nearly 14,000. That's a 1,700% increase over the previous week. Local temp agency Express Staffing says they are still open and ready to hire people. They are taking applications and asking people to do phone interviews for positions. If you're in need of work or in need of workers, you can check out our websites for more details. And Cascade County is joining the list of others opting for an all-mail ballot election in the June 2nd primary. County commissioners approved the change Wednesday. Cascade County Clerk and Recorder Rena Fontana Moore says the ballots will be mailed out to active voters within the county on May 8th. The county will send out a mailer to inactive voters informing them of the change. Leaders have extended the regular voter registration deadline to May 26th. In addition, they will allow mail ballots to be returned without postage. Montana Expo Park will be set up on Election Day without polling stations. And this week, the Out West Art Show and Sale posted this to their Facebook page, announcing a new Western Art Week. Right now, it looks like the C.M. Russell Museum, the Great Western Living and Design Show, and the Out West Art Show will join forces in one venue, September 10th through the 12th. That's all they're announcing right now, but the Post says they are going to be hosting a video announcement today with more information. We'll update you as we learn more. And a woman from Cut Bank is asking for help this morning. She owns Lita's Res Dog Rescue. She's located just outside the Blackfeet Reservation and says right now she doesn't have the supplies to feed all the animals that she's taking care of. She's in need of dog and cat food. In addition to dog and cat donations, they're also looking for volunteers to help put food out. If you're available and ready to help, check out our websites for more details.
And on the weather scene, we're continuing that very cold trend today. Slightly warmer, though, and we'll continue to see that warming trend as we head toward the weekend. So a little more sunshine, more mild again this weekend. The good news is higher sun angle, so it'll feel a little bit warmer here this afternoon. Couple of spring flooding alerts to bring you along the High Line, just north of Havre. Some of the creeks and streams due to the increased snow melt, picking up a little bit of high water level there. Same story for the Milk River, just barely above flood stage in and around Glasgow. So really the big story here, your temperature forecast, that big Arctic air mass is going to continue to move out of the region, making its way east over the next couple of days with some slightly warmer temperatures moving in. So 26 today in Great Falls, 40s to follow. As for the capital, looking at 34 degrees and back up to the 40s as we head into the weekend.
All right, warming up nicely.
Yeah.
You get the grill back out, your Hawaiian shirt. Yeah. Our news doesn't stop here. You can get continuous news and weather coverage on our mobile apps throughout the day.
We're back shortly with a couple of updates. We'll see you then.
it's Ian Armitage from Young Sheldon.
It's Phil Kogan here from The Amazing Race with some crazy hair for a crazy time.
You are not alone.
We are here for you.
Take care of each other. We're all in this together.
I love y'all. Peace.
If you're like us, you're probably at home, glued to your TV.
Everything is so unpredictable.
It's going to be a new reality for all of us.
But I want you to know you're not alone.
We're all connected.
All working together.
We'll continue to bring you the very best information that we have.
We will get through this.
Because we're all in this.
We're all in this.
We are all in this together.
Let's go.
For countless years, Furniture Row has been your local source for high-quality and affordably stylish home furnishings. And at FurnitureRow.com, you can choose from thousands of sofas, sectionals, and leather, dining sets, tables, and bar stools, bedroom sets, kids' beds, lamps, and accessories, all ready to ship free right to your doorstep. Plus, furnish your entire home with 4 years no-interest financing. Shop the largest selection at the lowest prices guaranteed. Furniture Row, your local furniture specialists.
Good morning and happy Friday Eve. I'm Keely Van Mittendorp. Here's a look at today's top stories. Taking a look at the latest numbers released by health officials here in the state last night. So far, 217 people have tested positive for coronavirus. 19 have been hospitalized. 5 people have died from COVID-19 related complications. 3 of those deaths have been reported in Toole County. So far, 32 people have recovered from the virus. President Donald Trump approved Montana's disaster declaration on Wednesday. Fema says this will make federal emergency aid available to our state. This aid will supplement state, tribal, and local recovery efforts in areas affected by COVID-19. And 73 Montana Army and Air National Guards men and women have been activated by Governor Steve Bullock. The soldiers and airmen will be in 11 cities and 17 locations across the state, including airports, starting this Friday, April 3rd. And in our capital city, St. Peter's Health is encouraging the community to please call before going to the hospital or any clinics. The hospital has made a 24/7 hotline for anyone to call and be directed to the right place for care. They wish to separate respiratory symptom patients from those who have no symptoms. Those with symptoms could be directed to the Urgent Care South Clinic connected to the hospital to maintain that separation. The Urgent Care North Clinic will be seeing patients with no COVID-19 symptoms. The St. Peter's hotline number is 457-4180. That number listed on our websites. The hospital does encourage people to call before going anywhere to make sure that you are safe and at the right place for treatment. And as of last week, 3.3 million people filed for unemployment due to the pandemic. Here in Montana, claims surged. Near the end of March, unemployment claims reached nearly 14,000, a 1,700% increase over the previous week. Local temp agency Express Staffing says they are still open and ready to help people. They are taking applications and currently asking people to do over-the-phone interviews for positions. If you're in need of work or in need of workers, you can check out our website for more details. And up along the High Line, a woman from Cutbank is asking for help this morning. She owns Lita's Res Dog Rescue. She's located just outside the Blackfeet Reservation and says right now she doesn't have the supplies to feed all the animals she's taking care of. She is in need of dog and cat food. In addition to donations, they're also looking for volunteers to help put out the food. If you're able to help, check out our website for more details. Let's get a check on the forecast now, and we say good morning to Storm Checker forecaster Jason Laird.
Good morning, everybody. Well, on your forecast headlines today, another cold day on tap, slightly warmer than where we were yesterday. We will start to warm up a little bit more tomorrow, and overall a mild weekend on tap. Not average, but mild, we'll call it that. 26 for your daytime high in Great Falls today, 34 in the capital. High 20s surround northeastern Montana and the plains. Overall today, we're going to stay mostly dry, kind of off and on clouds. There will be a possibility of a couple of flurries over the mountains, a few of which may make their way into the plains, but very minimal, if if any accumulation expected. Overnight lows cooling to 13 in Great Falls, 19 in the capital, looking at the teens and single digits throughout eastern and northeastern Montana as well. Tomorrow we're going to start that warming trend, 42 degrees in Great Falls, about 43 in the capital, a couple of mid-40s there throughout the eastern plains. Overall, our last weather maker that allowed for that cold air to settle in is going to continue to move out. We will see a possible weekend weather maker on Sunday, but really just a couple of spotty showers associated with that area of low pressure. Over the next 7 days, here's how all of that trends for us. 26 degrees, still very cold today. We'll stay on track with the 40s up until about next week. Here in the capital, sitting at about 34 degrees today with 40s through the weekend.
The latest local updates tonight